problem with magic. Chapter 1. Order versus Chaos. The first sign something had gone wrong was that the front door exploded inward politely. Not shattered. Gale would have preferred shattered. Shattering at least had the decency to announce itself honestly. No, the heavy oak door of his modestly restored Baldur's Gate residence burst open in a gust of hot wind, swung wide on magically preserved hinges, and slammed against the wall with such perfect force that the framed sketch of Waterdeep over the mantel rattled askew. Gale looked up from the sigil matrix he had been correcting for the third time that evening and closed his eyes. "Count to 5, he murmured to himself. 1, said Astarion from the chaise by the fire, where he lounged in embroidered black velvet with a goblet of red wine balanced against one pale wrist. Karlach. 2, Gale said through his teeth. 3, Astarion continued. Something on fire. It is not on fire, came Karlach's delighted voice from the entry hall. A beat. Yet. Gale opened his eyes. Karlach strode into the sitting room like victory-given limbs. Her infernal engine had long since been repaired, the old heat rattle in her chest replaced with a steady bronze glow beneath newly fitted plates. She looked stronger than ever, broader in the shoulders, grinning hard enough to qualify as a siege weapon. Behind her trailed soot sparks and a woman in dark red leather who was laughing as if she had personally invented trouble. "Good evening," Karlach declared. "It was," said Gale. The stranger was perhaps near Karlach's age, though harder to place. She had the sort of face people wrote songs about badly, vivid eyes, a mouth already halfway to a smirk, hair the colour of banked embers escaping a loose braid. Arcane energy crackled faintly over her fingertips in harmless little pops of gold and crimson. Harmlessly, Gale noted, in the same way one might describe an unsecured barrel of lamp oil as decorative. Karlach, Gale said carefully. Who is the armed weather event? This, said Karlach proudly, throwing an arm around the woman's shoulders, is Vesta. Hello, Vesta said. Your wards bit me. They were discouraging trespass. They were smug. Gale drew himself up. Wards cannot be smug. Astarion took a thoughtful sip of wine. Yours somehow are, he said. Karlach barked a laugh so loud it startled a vase into cracking. Gale ignored them all with the dignity of a man who had long practiced doing so. Karlach, he said, why is there an unknown sorceress in my home? This is my good friend, Vesta. She banged around in the hells with me and Will and helped us out of more than one scrape. She is visiting Baldur's Gate, and I thought I'd bring her by to meet some of my friends. Karlach beamed a smile that could light a small forest fire. Astarion raised his goblet in salute. At last, he said, a woman after my own heart. No, she's after your wine, Karlach said, plucking the goblet from his hand and passing it to Vesta. Betrayal, Astarion breathed. Vesta drank, made an approving sound, and handed it back. Good vintage. Astarion blinked at her. Well, that is unsettling. Gale pinched the bridge of his nose. You brought a wild magic sorceress, he said to Karlach. A very talented one, Karlach corrected. A wild magic sorceress, Gale repeated, into a home containing delicate manuscripts, 3 active wards, 2 unstable relics, and 1 entirely reasonable wizard. Vesta glanced around the room. Which one is the unstable relic? Karlach wheezed. Astarion nearly spilled the wine he'd just reclaimed. Gale stared at her. Vesta stared back, wholly untroubled. There was power in her, he realized, not merely the unruly fizz of untrained talent. Something vast moved beneath the surface, bright, instinctive, deeply alive. Magic that refused to apologize for existing. Dangerous, certainly. Infuriating, unquestionably. Interesting, regrettably. We are not staying long, Karlak said, clapping Gale on the shoulder hard enough to shift him half a step. Will's securing the cart outside. We just need a place to sort supplies, warm up, and maybe not die tonight. You were not in danger of dying, Gale said. We absolutely were, said Vesta. There was a bone field. There is always a bone field, Karlak replied. That cannot be normal. In the hells? Pretty normal? Gale sighed the sigh of a man watching order retreat over the horizon. You may stay the night, he said at last, on the condition that no one casts anything without my express permission. Vesta's brows rose. That seems excessive. That seems survival-minded. That seems boring. That, Gale said coolly, seems like the opinion of someone who has never rebuilt a ceiling. She smiled then, quick, bright, dangerous. Oh, I've rebuilt several ceilings. A small spark leapt from her fingers. The chandelier above them transformed instantly into a flock of porcelain ducks. There was a silence. One duck quacked. Karlak doubled over, laughing. Astarion slid lower onto the chaise, tears in his eyes. Gale looked up at the circling ceramic birds. Vesta winced. That usually doesn't happen. You are leaving, Gale said. No, Karlak shouted. Yes. Another duck laid an egg on his rug. Astarion pointed at it weakly, unable to breathe for laughter. A short time later, the last porcelain duck was still circling the ceiling fan when Gale finished the restoration spell with more force than was strictly necessary. The chandelier reassembled itself mid-air in a shower of blue light, settled neatly into place, and gave one offended wobble. Silence followed. Then Karlak applauded. Ha! Knew you'd fix it. That is not the point, Gale said. It's a little the point. It is entirely not the point. Vesta leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, watching him with the sort of expression usually reserved for travelling performers and mildly clever dogs. You always narrate while you cast? She asked. Only when correcting preventable disasters. So often then. Astarion made a pleased sound into his goblet. Gale turned sharply to Karlak. How well? He asked with dangerous calm. Do you know this woman? Karlak brightened at once. Oh, ages now. Well, months, which in Karlak time is ages. That explains nothing. As I said, we met in Avernus. That explains too much. Karlak ignored him cheerfully. Will and I were tracking old infernal forge schematics near the ash dunes outside Bell's old foundry. Needed diagrams, pressure ratios, all the boring bits so I could stop exploding permanently. She thumped the bronze plate over her heart with pride. Worked, by the way. Yes, Gale said dryly. We had noticed the continued living. Karlak grinned and continued. Then the air tore open, there was this huge flash of gold fire, and Vesta dropped out of the sky screaming. I was not screaming, said Vesta. You absolutely were. I was issuing forceful objections. She landed on a war machine, punched a cambion, stole its spear, and asked if we knew where she was. Astarion lowered his glass. I do like her. She'd accidentally teleported herself there from some roadside inn in Arm, Karlak said. Wild surge, bad luck, wrong plane. Statistically fascinating, Gale muttered. She helped us fight our way out, laughed at devils, set 3 siege tents on fire, and called Will handsome horns for a week. Vesta shrugged. He is handsome. He is, Karlak agreed. Gale stared at both of them. You brought a plainer accident with opinions into my home. I brought my friend, Karlak said, the humour softening in her voice. She's good people. Something in Gale's reply stalled. Karlak did not speak lightly of loyalty, not after everything she had endured. He glanced at Vesta again. She was spinning one tiny spark over her knuckles like a coin, unbothered, unapologetic, entirely too comfortable. She is unstable, Gale said at last. Vesta snorted. I'm standing right here. I was hoping you might learn by overhearing. She pushed off the wall and stepped toward him. And I was hoping you might loosen your collar before it strangles you. It is not tight. It's afraid, Karlach wheezed. Astarion nearly applauded. Gale drew himself up to his full height. Magic, he said, is not a tavern game nor an excuse for impulse. It is language, structure, precision, every thread placed with intent. Vesta tilted her head. Magic is hunger, she said. Stormlight. Breath held too long and finally released. It is demonstrably not. It is to me. That is not how objective forces function. Oh, listen to yourself, she said, laughing. You speak of power as though it needs permission slips. And you speak of it as though consequences are optional. They're negotiable. They are not. She flicked her wrist. A shower of harmless sparks burst above his head and rained down as tiny, glowing moths. Karlach gasped in delight. Astarion reached up as one landed on his sleeve. All right, that is rather pretty. Gale dispelled them with a sharp motion. Pointless theatrics. Beautiful theatrics, Vesta corrected. Undirected. Alive. Reckless. Coward. The room stilled. Gale blinked once. Karlach's grin slowly widened. Astarion sat forward like a man arriving at the best part of a play. Vesta's expression had changed too. Less playful now, more precise. Karlach said you were an amazing wizard, she said bluntly. But it seems like you'd rather cage it than trust yourself with it. The words struck harder than they should have. Gale's voice cooled several degrees. You know nothing about me. No, she said, but I know fear when I hear it. Blue light gathered unconsciously at his fingertips. Gold fire answered at hers. Karlach looked between them with open delight. Oh, there it is. Astarion rose smoothly and moved the wine bottle farther from the table's edge. Practicality first. Gale and Vesta stood facing one another across the room like opposing schools of magic given human form. At last, he said, very clearly, you are impossible. Vesta smiled without warmth. You are insufferable. Astarion lifted his glass. This, he said, should be interesting.
In a world of spells and scholars, rules and reckless flame, every mind insists there's only one correct way to the game. Is it reason? Is it instinct? Who decides what power shows? In the battle of control and fire, who will win? No one knows. Magic is a language structured, clean, refined. Every thread is measured, every outcome by design. You don't guess a spell, you master every part. There's elegance in order, there is science in the art.
Oh, please spare me lectures wrapped in velvet tone. You map it out in theory, I just make it burn and glow. You call it lack of discipline, I call it being free. You're trapped inside a system, I just am what I can be.
Order, precision, control every line. Chaos, intuition, power undefined. Two ways to wield it, two ways to stand, but neither one is backing down. You're reckless,
You're rigid,
unfocused,
you're frigid,
a danger to yourself and everyone around.
At least I'm not afraid to leave the ground.
You'll never reach potential undirected,
And you'll never live a life that's unexpected.
there are rules,
There are cages,
there is method,
there are stages,
and I refuse to play this your way. Oh, this should be delightful. Place your bets, my friends. Will they burn the world to cinders, or just kiss before it ends? Personally, I'm rooting for both. There's brilliance in your chaos, though you squander what you wield. With guidance, proper structure, you'd be something truly unreal.
and Maybe all your brilliance is a beautifully built wall. You're so afraid of failing that you'll never risk it all.
I could show you,
I don't need you.
you could learn,
Or I could teach you.
there is power,
There is fire.
maybe both could take us higher. Order, chaos, line and spark, light the flame or map the dark. Two forces drawn in sharp contrast, but neither one was built to last alone. You're impossible.
You're impossible. You're insufferable.
This should be interesting.